Okay, here's the next video. We're going to look at problem number 6 in our homework from the section 8.1 in Unit 3. And this is a problem that a lot of my students had trouble with in class, so what I want to do, that's hard to say, is help you by showing you how to go about this problem. Now, there is a box that says click the icon to view the graph. So we can look at this graph. Notice it's normally distributed. The mean is always in the middle, so the mean is 400, and then we got one standard deviation above the mean, which is 440. So if they ask me what is the standard deviation of this problem, then this is where they've actually taken the graph and they've adjusted the standard deviation to find the standard deviation of the means that we're going to work with. So in our particular case, the standard deviation of the means would be 40 because you would subtract those two values. So now what we're going to do is, let me close this up. Okay, so here's what it says. It says complete parts A through D for the sampling distribution of the sample mean shown in the graph. And it says, what is the value of the mean of the means? So we saw that the mean of the means in this particular one was 400. So we have 400, the mean of the means is 400, which that's our mean. Also, our standard deviation of the means is 40 because we subtracted 400 minus 440. Standard deviation of the means is 40. And then in part C, they tell us that the sample size was 9. So notice I wrote down, let me find it, I wrote down n equals 9. So I have the standard deviation of the means is 40, n equals 9, and the mean of the means is 400. Now, what they asked me to do, they say, is the sample size n equals 9? It says if the sample size is n equals 9, what is likely true about the shape of the population? And what happens is, based on this one, to be able to work this, we're going to assume that this is a normal distribution. And we can see that from looking at our graph. We can see that's approximately normal. Even though our sample size was 9, we can still see that our graph is normally distributed. So we can continue working. Now, what this asks you to do in part D, it says the sample size is n equals 9. What's the standard deviation of the population from which the sample was drawn? So what that means is in my formula, let me find my formula here. Here we go. So this is the standard deviation of the means. This is my population standard deviation, and this is my sample size. So what I know is I know this standard deviation of the mean, and I know the sample size. I'm trying to find the standard deviation of the population. So I'm going to take my values that I wrote down over here, and I'm going to plug those into the equation. So now my equation looks like this. So notice I put in 40 for the standard deviation of the sample means, and I put in 9. Well, the square root of 9 is 3. So then I've simplified this. Now, what I did to make it an algebraic expression, I just changed my standard deviation to x. And we're going to solve this equation. So to solve this, I will multiply both sides by 3. The 3's will cancel out, and you end up with x is 120. And so that is my standard deviation of 120 that we're coming up with in number 9.